We have Memento for you. Yes, the TCG has been loving this deck. A very interesting Ashened build and Lightsworn, along with a few other goodies. Did you guys smash the like crap on that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content? I know so many people have been like, hey, you know, we just got those new Memento cards. Is this deck finally going to get a top out here in the TCG? And actually, it finally has one. I'm genuinely impressed, actually. So this was the top cut finish for Memento. Basically, just, there's not a lot to really explain here. You got to remember the new little Memento Twin Thunder basically allowed the deck another little pop. A little bit of extra floatability from the deck, which was actually pretty decent, actually. I'm very happy to have this card, but we do know, coming down the future pipeline here, that this is just a little bit of a kind of forged together pile until, you know, once we get the Foolish Burial for 3 out here. Now, of course, you do see this deck is sporting off the 1 anti-spell protect choices. We are citing the 1 copy of the Fracture Dance, and we're also focusing on the 1 copy of the Cranium Burst. Cranium Burst, one of, is absolutely fine. I mean, this is your walking, talking skill drain that powers down your stuff, sure, but this does everything that you kind of need it to for the deck. Remember, the entire deck is about getting out the big boss monster and kind of going, interesting choice here that they're playing 2 of the combined creations. Most of these builds that I typically see are only focusing on typically 1 of the combined creations. So to see that we have a build here that is actually exploring some heavier numbers for this, okay, I'm kind of about this, actually. So interesting stuff to see that the combined creation still moving up in numbers here. Your 1 of choices in here. Pretty standard stuff, honestly. Outside of that, I do like the tack talents in here. And, of course, most of your board wiping options are pretty good. This is actually kind of interesting to see. I don't really see a lot of Chimera in these builds, but you know what? I guess you can actually hard make it with the Memento Fusion. The more you know, right? That's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is all about. The fun. So, this was a top 4 Ashened profile out of its locals. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you here. Alright? You're missing an extra deck down here, and we don't have a side deck. So, we're just going to kind of look around and go, okay, there's a little bit more room for improvement. Honestly, I really wish we had the side deck here because that would help us get a little bit more of a view into how this deck could win some of its matchups. Now, a little free real estate as per usual here. Super Poly with the everything turning into a fire is going to be kind of free. Being able to make embers pretty freely, or being able to, you know, herd derp make the big Vitos, you know, off of having, you know, this on your opponent's field with the 2 Pyro Monsters. Well, you know, it might actually be a thing. This could actually come out. That's how I accurately believe this deck is able to kind of win at the moment, is you basically make everything on your opponent's field Pyro, and you just Super Poly scoop them up. That's I do accurately believe this deck can actually do that kind of interestingly. We do have the 2 Rekindling of the Ash. I mean, hey, placing one of your Ashen cards is banishing the graveyard on the bottom of the deck, and then targeting an effect monster, negating its effects. Sure, this is a little free. The fact this deck actually has, you know, like a mini little skill drain or a mini little blink, the Ashen for Eternity, and of course the Ashen 2. I still don't like how this card works, but that's fine. Outside of that, though, you should be making everything into Pyro, and then of course extinguishing the Ashen, maximizing numbers here. Also, these hand trap ratios are so weird. We're doing triple droll and 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence, like. I feel like we could have some better ratios. Maybe going to 41 and actually playing the 2 copies of the Infinite or the Triple Imperm, and probably building that side deck and getting that last slot in there. Also, the fact we can actually proxy F Magician for this deck is actually kind of hilarious. Okay. Now, we have Johnny's Lightsworn list. The things that we see out here from Johnny is friggin' 60 cards, first of all. The amount of bricks that you can pop around in here, and the fact that you've got your Thunder Dragon package doing its thing in here is pretty good. Of course, the Punishment and the GD. I love the fact these are now 1-ofs. You do see we're actually playing the Keldo for the Tuckback package in here as well. And, of course, we are playing the Chaos Dragon, the Armageddon. And I also find it very interesting here. We're getting away with actually playing the Solar Recharges in here. Solar Recharge giving you that, maybe not so much filtering. You got to remember that Solar Recharge at this point, by a lot of people, just kind of deem this card as a brick. never thought I would see the day that, you know, this card does really, it's got its merits for like the turbo draw when it needs to, but there's a lot of times you just look at this card and you're like, you know, do I have the Lightsworn? I mean, you play plenty of Lightsworn, but the problem is you're playing a lot of the bricks along the way. Here, let's draw a hand here. Oh, look at that. We did get, well, of course, we got 2 bricks with the double soul region. You gotta be kidding me. And we got a charge and a Weiss. All right, we're good. And we have the Shayren in here as well. Okay, we can do things here. This is a turbo bias to him, but we have the Imseti. That's good. Yeah, looking at this, with just those very few Tessians, a lot of things you do. Now, we're also playing the swords of, the spiritual swords down here. This thing lets you, during your opponent's turn, banish this card, and then your opponent's monsters cannot attack directly. This is actually really freaking funny, because this also doubles for Tenpai. Being able to spiritual swords a Tenpai player is some of the most hilarious things that you could actually do. So, hey, they can still make a board, you know, all day long, but this ensures that, you know, you're not actually going to lose the game. So that's a big W in my opinion. So overall, okay, this might actually be a pile to consider here. And we have, oh man, how many Magic Spectre decks have we seen out here? There have been so many builds that people are trying, and that's fine. You know, the Magic Spectre package supports Pendulum and actually makes the deck into something kind of interesting. Like, you want to see this actually be one of those one of those decks that can actually be pretty well. And Usman has done a very good job at continuing to innovate this deck and make people actually kind of want to play this. I will say the Kieran still being at a 1 is kind of hilarious, actually. I figured we would actually see more like out of this card, but it's kind of been a miss. Fears, you know, we could actually see more Kieran come back to the game, but I hope not. I don't want to see triple Kieran dropping onto a field out here, and we're just forced to look at it and go, okay. And also keep in mind, I see we are playing an Ariane with, wow, Triple Judgment and the Solemn Strike. That's actually hilarious. I do see we actually board into some Lubellions with Branded Regain. The fact that this deck can actually do Branded Regained plays is interesting. I also see we can set up Trigate down here. That's also, these end boards, you also have the Firewall Dragon Singularity down here as well. The fact that you can set up like a Trigate Wizard or something, depending on how you open up. You do see the Promethean Princess down here as well. Look, it's a fire monster we can actually interact with. And of course, you know, the whole Bysteel squad down here. And even bringing in a Baguska to kind of equalize, you know, a terrible situation. Genuinely, this is kind of impressive. All right, I didn't expect to see so many moving pieces actually working down here for this, but this is good. Definitely, you can also pop the Ignister Prominence if you need to, but it's all about how many pieces you can kind of bring together and actually work. And also, this card is really stupid. You have so much deck thinning in this deck. 43 cards, by the way. Grab any utility option you need and go. And our last list is Labyrinth here. There has been, I think the biggest debate of this format has been, if you're going to play Labyrinth, how many transaction rollbacks do we need to be playing right now? Do we need to be packing in 2 to 3? Like, what's the perfect ratio here? I think 2 is doable, because against Tenpai, I mean, you want to be able to roll out Destructive Daruma Cannons as often as you can, because you want to clear those things off of the field and keep rotating them. I do see here we have some Magic Deflector action down here. We also have double Eradicator. So Eradicator kind of coming back into the light here. This is actually very good to see. I do see we have the double different Dimension Ground. A lot of these trap cards that you're seeing here as 2-ofs, strictly because we do have Trap Trick here as one of those cards to assist us. You want to make sure that Trap Trick is getting its value out here so you can get to any of these normal trap cards and be able to power through and punish the opponent. And once again, I mean, double punishment too. Good stuff. Outside of that, you also do have the one Labyrinth set up in here. I can tell you I've been sacked by this card far too many times. This is one of those cards you look at and you're like, that's a gosh darn good Yu-Gi-Oh card. Yes, it is. As long as you can get the game to the point that Labyrinth setup is a card, yeah, you're probably going to be good. Also, interesting, see this in here. I'm kind of questioning what you're doing here, but this is because you can drop it off of the punishment, so you can trigger the revive effect. Yeah, that's a thing you can actually do. Hey, target a Beast Fiend or Illusion monster. I wonder. It's almost like these are all fiends. Interesting. Make sure you guys leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace.
patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.